It starts so innocently. Just a little something to take the edge off after a long day. You tell yourself it's just a weekend thing, a social habit, completely under control. Everyone else is doing it, right? You feel a slight buzz, a wave of relaxation, and you think, wow, I can handle this. This is easy. You're still going to work, you're still hanging out with your friends, and your bank account looks completely normal. It's just a tiny escape from reality, a little reward for surviving the week. You don't see the trap yet. You honestly believe you can stop whenever you want. But then, the weekend starts bleeding into the weekdays. Tuesday night becomes a stressful night that requires a little help. Thursday night is basically the weekend anyway, right? The justification happens so smoothly in your brain that you don't even question it. You start buying a little more just to have a backup supply. You notice that the initial dose doesn't give you that same spark anymore. It's a bit duller, a bit shorter. So, you take a little bit more. Just a tiny bit. You're still functional. You're just a person who likes to party a little harder than the rest. Suddenly, you realize you haven't had a completely sober day in 3 weeks. The morning alarm hits different now. It's not just tiredness. It's a heavy, foggy weight pressing down on your chest. The first thought in your head isn't about breakfast or what you have to do at work. It's about when you can get your next fix. You start glancing at the clock every 20 minutes, counting down the hours. Your tolerance is climbing, and so is the amount of money you're spending. You find yourself making excuses to skip dinner with family or happy hour with actual friends because they don't do what you do, and you don't want them looking at you too closely. You enter the phase of isolation. Your friend group shifts completely. The people you used to watch movies or play video games with start fading away because you keep canceling plans. Now, the only people you text are the ones who can get you what you need, or the ones who want to do it with you. You tell yourself these are your real friends because they understand you, but deep down, you know it's just a shared coping mechanism. Your room starts getting messy. The laundry piles up. You're skipping showers because the effort feels monumental. You look in the mirror and notice your skin looks a bit gray. Your eyes have permanent shadows under them, but you quickly look away. You don't want to face it. Then comes the financial panic. The habit isn't a luxury anymore. It's a utility bill that you absolutely have to pay, except it costs 5 times more than electricity. You start prioritizing it over your actual responsibilities. Rent is a few days late. You skip buying groceries and survive on cheap fast food or nothing at all, just so you have enough cash. You find yourself lying to the people who love you, making up elaborate stories about why you're short on cash or why your car broke down again. The guilt is eating you alive, but the moment the anxiety gets too loud, you use again to shut it up. It's a vicious, exhausting loop. Your performance at work or school completely plummets. You're showing up late, your eyes are bloodshot, and your focus is entirely gone. You catch your boss looking at you with a mix of disappointment and suspicion. You get a formal warning, and instead of letting it be a wake-up call, it panic-induces you into using more just to numb the stress of potentially losing your job. You feel trapped in your own mind. The substance isn't even making you happy anymore. It doesn't give you a high. It just brings you back to a baseline where you don't feel physically sick or emotionally hollow. You're just using to feel normal. And then, the physical dependence truly takes hold. If you go more than 12 hours without it, your body starts to revolt. The cold sweats set in. Your hands shake so badly you can barely type on your phone. Every muscle in your body aches, and a deep, primal panic screams in the back of your brain that you need it right now. You've officially crossed the line from a habit to a necessity. You find yourself looking through your drawers, looking under the couch cushions, desperately searching for any leftovers. You're willing to do things you swore you would never do. The moral boundaries you built your entire life upon start to crumble. You start selling your belongings. First, it's the old electronics you don't use much. Then it's your favorite gaming console, your jewelry, things that actually mean something to you. Every time you walk out of a pawn shop with a fraction of what your stuff is worth, you feel a profound sense of self-loathing. You look at your reflection in the shop window, and you don't even recognize the person staring back. Your clothes are baggy, your face is gaunt, and your eyes look completely lifeless. You're a ghost inhabiting your own body, completely driven by the chemical demands of a substance that owns you. The paranoia settles in deep. You think everyone is watching you, everyone knows your secret. Every siren in the distance makes your heart race. You start cutting off the final threads of your old life completely. You don't answer calls from your parents. You block your old best friends because their concern feels like an attack. You convince yourself that the whole world is against you and that the only comfort you have left is the very thing that is destroying you. You spend your days in a darkened room, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the plug to text you back, praying that you can just disappear. You hit what you think is the absolute bottom. You lose your job, or you get evicted, or someone you love finally catches you red-handed and walks away for good. The reality of your situation crashes down on you with the weight of a concrete wall. You are completely alone, broke, and sick. You sit on the floor of an empty room, shivering, realizing that the journey that started with a simple, innocent choice has completely erased everything that made you who you were. You are entirely at the mercy of the next dose. And the scary part is, you don't even know if you have the strength to fight your way back out. You're sitting in the dark, watching the hours tick by, waiting for a text that might never come. Your phone is at 4% battery, and you don't even have a working charger anymore. You're using a frayed cord you found in the trash, propped up at a specific angle against a shoe just to keep the screen alive. Every minute feels like a day. When the phone finally buzzes, your heart leaps into your throat, but it's just an automated alert from your service provider warning you that your line is about to be shut off. The crushing weight of disappointment settles back onto your chest, heavier than before. The physical sickness is mutating now. It's no longer just a bad flu feeling. It feels like your bones are made of ice and your blood is boiling. You can't stay still for more than 3 seconds. You're pacing the floor of a room that smells like stale sweat and old fast food wrappers, shivering violently despite the summer heat. You wrap a dirty blanket around your shoulders, but within 2 minutes you're burning up, tearing it off, panting on the floor. Your stomach is knotted into tight, painful fists. You realize with absolute horror that you are completely out of options, out of money, and out of favors. You resort to begging. You open your contacts and scroll past the names of people who haven't spoken to you in a year, stopping at the few family members who haven't blocked you yet. You type out frantic, paragraphs-long texts, spinning a web of lies about an emergency medical bill, a stolen wallet, a broken pipe in your apartment, anything to get $50 Venmo'd to you. Watch the 3 dots appear and disappear as they type a response. When the message finally comes through, it reads, "We love you, but we can't give you money anymore. We can only pay for rehab." You throw the phone against the wall in a fit of rage, screaming at the top of your lungs because they don't understand. They don't understand that you don't want to get clean right now. You just want the pain to stop. The rage quickly dissolves into pathetic, weeping desperation. You crawl across the floor to retrieve the phone, praying the screen isn't shattered. It's cracked, but it still works. You swallow your pride and text the one person you despise, the low-level dealer who always shorts you, who makes you wait in dark parking lots for 4 hours, who treats you like absolute garbage because he knows he holds all the cards. You offer him the last thing of value you have, your laptop. It has all your college photos, your resume, your entire digital life on it. He texts back a single word, "Fine." The drive over there is a waking nightmare. You're driving a car with an expired registration, a cracked windshield, and a gas light that's been glowing solid for 30 miles. Every time a police car passes you, your stomach drops and you lose your breath. If you get pulled over, it's over. You have no insurance, a suspended license, and a mind pushed to the absolute brink of psychosis. You grip the steering wheel with sweaty, trembling hands, whispering to yourself over and over, "Just get there, just get there, just get there." You pull into the back of a deserted gas station. You sit in the idling car, the engine making a terrible knocking sound. He shows up 45 minutes late, pulling up next to you in a clean, expensive car that your bad habits helped pay for. You hand over the laptop through the window. He barely looks at you, tossing a small bag onto your passenger seat before driving off without saying a word. You don't even care about the humiliation. Your hands are shaking so violently you can barely open the plastic. The moment you use, the relief washes over you like a warm wave, but the euphoria is completely gone. There is no joy in this. It's just the sudden, quiet absence of agony. You sit in the dark car, staring at the dashboard. The immediate sickness is gone, but in its place is a profound, hollow emptiness. You just traded your entire digital history, your connection to your past self, for a few hours of numbness. You look at the gas gauge. You don't even have enough fuel to get back to your apartment. You are stranded in a parking lot at 3 in the morning, completely bankrupt of resources, dignity, and hope. The next few days blur into a continuous, gray haze of survival. You lose track of what day it is. You start hanging out in places you never thought you'd step foot in: abandoned buildings, filthy alleyways, public park bathrooms. You meet other people who are at the exact same level as you, but there is no camaraderie here. Everyone is a predator, and everyone is a prey. You have to sleep with your shoes on and your remaining belongings tucked under your head, because the moment you close your eyes, someone will rob you. Trust is a luxury that died months ago. You find yourself committing petty crimes just to keep the cycle spinning. You walk into a grocery store, your heart pounding against your ribs, trying to act casual while shoving high-value items down your jacket. The adrenaline is sickening. You walk past the security guard, convinced he can hear your heart beating, expecting a hand to grab your shoulder at any second. When you make it out the door, you sprint around the corner, hyperventilating, hating yourself more with every step you take. You sell the stolen items for pennies on the dollar to a guy fence who laughs at how desperate you look. You look at a reflection of yourself in a puddle on the street. Your teeth are beginning to decay from neglect and malnutrition. Your cheeks are so sunken it looks like a skull is trying to push through your skin. You have open sores on your arms that you keep trying to hide by pulling your dirty sleeves down over your hands. You look 50 years old, but you're barely in your 20s. You realize with absolute clarity that if you stay on this path, you aren't going to make it to next year. You are actively watching yourself die in slow motion, and the terrifying part is, a small part of you is completely okay with that. The numbness doesn't even last an hour anymore. You wake up on a piece of cardboard in a corner of the room, your mouth tasting like copper and ash. The transition from oblivion to reality is instant and brutal. There is no waking up slowly. You just open your eyes, and the panic immediately floods your chest. The room is freezing, but your skin is burning. You try to stand up, but your knees give out, sending you crashing into a pile of plastic bottles. Your body is completely broken, refusing to cooperate unless it gets what it wants. You realize you have nothing left to sell. Your pockets are completely empty except for a few lint-covered pennies and a lighter that's out of fluid. You look around the room, desperately checking the floorboards, pulling back the torn mattress, hoping a single pill or a tiny crumb rolled away somewhere. Nothing. You find an old syringe in a pile of trash and consider trying to scrape the residue out of it, risking a fatal infection just for a microscopic fraction of relief. That is how low you've sunk. You are a biological machine programmed to hunt for a molecule, and the human being you used to be is completely buried under the dirt. The final wall breaks. You walk out onto the main street in broad daylight, shivering in a stained jacket, and you hold your hand out to strangers passing by. You avoid looking them in the eye because the pity and disgust on their faces hurts worse than the physical withdrawal. People walk right past you, adjusting their bags, pulling their kids away, pretending you're invisible, a glitch in their perfect routine. You want to scream at them that you used to be just like them. You used to have a job, a family, a clean bed, and a future. But to the world, you are just a statistic walking on two legs. By evening, you manage to scrape together a few dollars, just enough to buy a toxic, contaminated street-level substitute from a guy who doesn't even know your name. You take it back to the abandoned building, crawling into the shadows. You don't care about clean needles anymore. You don't care about infection or safety or whether this batch is laced with something that will stop your heart permanently. In fact, as you prepare the dose with trembling, filthy fingers, a dark, heavy thought enters your mind. If it ends today, at least the chasing finally stops. At least the sickness ends. You take the dose. For a split second, the pain vanishes, but it's immediately replaced by a terrifying sensation. Your chest feels incredibly heavy, like an anvil is resting on your ribs. Your vision starts narrowing into a dark tunnel, the edges blurring into pitch black. You try to take a deep breath, but your lungs refuse to expand. Your heart stutters, skips a beat, and then slows down to a sluggish, agonizing thud. You try to call out for help, but the only sound that escapes your throat is a faint, wet gasp. You fall backward onto the cold concrete, looking up at the peeling paint on the ceiling. As the darkness closes in completely, a sudden, terrifying wave of regret hits you. You don't want to die here. You don't want your story to end in a filthy, forgotten room, identified only by a toe tag in a city morgue. You think of your mother's face, your old friends, the dreams you had when you were a kid sitting in a classroom, completely oblivious to how fragile life could be. You fight to keep your eyes open, begging your brain to just breathe, just take one more breath. But the chemical weight is too heavy, dragging you under into the deep, silent dark.